Hello again. Are you guys ready to learn? I keep getting these downloads about what to talk to you guys about, and it's almost like I can't do other things until I get it across. So I'm back again with another video. Today we are going to be talking about shamanic realities and the different shamanic realities. So the shamanic perspective of the ordinary reality, the non-ordinary realities, and then the different worlds that some of the different worlds that the shamanic realities are structured into for journeying and traveling and kind of what's there. Okay, so a couple things before we get started. Number one, if I'm not looking like perfectly at the camera, I'm still kind of getting used to it, so just give me a break. My camera's on top of my computer, but it's like, it's hard to kind of justify, like figure out where to look, because I can also see myself. And then also, as I'm talking to you guys, my spirit guides are also showing me things and telling me things, and I sometimes have to close my eyes or kind of look away so that I can like see it more clearly, because it's kind of hard to see it with the lights in my face. And also I have ADHD, so I'm all over the place. Okay, so we're going to talk about shamanic realities and the different shamanic worldview. Well, not different shamanic worldviews, but how kind of the shamanic realities are structured. I have notes over here. And how that relates to like our physical world. Okay, so firstly, again, and I'll say this in all my videos because there's probably going to be shamanic gatekeepers coming out of there. This is how my spirit guides have taught me. And this is how like I've learned just kind of from reading and journeying and doing this for 9 years. So if you have a different experience, great. Go share about it on your YouTube channel. Okay, so the shamanic, it's kind of first broken down into an ordinary reality and a non-ordinary reality. And then within shamanism and shamanic healing, we journey to, in a shamanic journey, these non-ordinary realities, okay? And a shamanic journey, very briefly, is when you get into a meditative trance state and with an aspect of yourself, like I like to think of it as your energy and your light body, basically your makaba, your light body, your spirit, with your spirit guides, you then journey into and through non-ordinary realities for the purposes of healing, for finding out different information, for seeing different truths and learning about different things that aren't present on the surface of the ordinary reality. Okay, so a shamanic journey is basically you're going with your shamanic soul aspect or an aspect of yourself and your light body into these other realities. Okay, and then here's a selection of some of the realities that you can journey to, and we'll talk about those in a second. So first, the world in general is kind of shamanically broken up into our ordinary reality and the non-ordinary realities. And non-ordinary realities are where we're journeying to, okay? And so the ordinary reality is like everything we see here, our physical plane, our physical reality, everything that we're looking at, that's the ordinary reality. Okay, and then the non-ordinary realities are all the things, all the other dimensional aspects, all the other planes of existence that we generally cannot see with our physical eyes, okay? And so when we go to these non-ordinary realities, we are experiencing them through our intuitive senses, right? So our clairvoyance, our clairaudience, our clairsentience, our intuitive selves. Because we're not journeying with our physical body, we are journeying with our soul aspect, our energy, our spirit body, okay? And with the way we are receiving information from spirit and from the world as we journey to those non-ordinary realities is through the spirit senses. All right, so when you go on a shamanic journey, there's different places that you can go. And there are more than what's here, but this is kind of like more of a simplistic view of like teaching you the different categories that can exist within the non-ordinary reality. So here is a non-ordinary reality, and here's different places that we can go, different worlds that we can go. Now, an important note to make is that the non-ordinary reality is like right here, parallel to our ordinary reality. It's just it's not really in a different place. It kind of is, but it's like you can think of it as a different dimension or a different layer of our existence here. Okay. And so these three different boxes that we can put or journey to is not all there is. Okay. It would be naive to say that there's only three distinct places that you can go in the shamanic realities. There's infinite, really. But for the purposes of being able to categorize and teach things like in a more simple way before we get like way more complicated into the different realms that you could potentially go to, we're going to keep it simple with the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. Okay. Now, Within shamanism, our non-ordinary realities, we're categorizing them into our lower world, our middle world, and our upper world, okay? The lower world and the upper world are places of healing. It's not dangerous there. It's always a place of healing. It's like you can journey there with your spirit guides, with your power animal, and you're not going to encounter anything dangerous. It's always a healing place. It's like basically always safe, okay? Now, when people talk about journeying, shamanic journeying being dangerous, mostly what they're talking about is when you're journeying in the middle world, okay? The middle world is essentially this plane of existence. And some shamanic healers, some shamanic practitioners say that if there is a hell, that it is actually the middle world and that it's not the lower world. But with the advent of religion, and some religions are teaching that hell is beneath us, which is in the shamanic worldview, the lower world. And some shamans believe that this teaching of hell being beneath us has basically, how do I say this, created a disruption in shamanic lineages and shamanic teachings because it has separated people from the healing aspects available to them in the lower world with the teaching that what's beneath us is bad. Okay? And so the middle world is the shamanic non-ordinary reality that's most parallel to our physical plane. Like I said, a lot of many shamanic healers believe that if there is a hell, this is it. And in the middle world, it's not that it can't be healing, but there's so many spirits there and so many energies there that you can't necessarily trust. If you're journeying through the middle world, this is where you have to be heavily protected. This is where you have to be going in with like a strong boundary, where you have to be going in with your spirit guides that you have already grounded and created a channel for and connected and called in, and can be certain that they are divine spirit guides, because there are trickster spirits that can come in the middle world and look like they're divine guides, and they're not. And so the middle world is where you have to be the most safe and the most protected when you're journeying. A lot of shamanic teachers like to tell people to practice starting out journeying in the lower world and the upper world because it's pretty much always safe there. It's not really dangerous. I actually have on my website, a couple years ago, I made an ebook and a series of 3 meditations for practice journeys to these places. So if it's something that you want to practice and experience for yourselves, I'm going to put a link below to that ebook and meditation grouping so that you can practice it. In future videos, what I'm going to do probably is talk about how to journey to both the lower and the upper world, and then kind of give you the walkthrough of that, and then you can do drumming journeys or practice it yourselves. But if you want to practice this with my guided meditations and kind of learn about this a bit more, I'm going to put a link to that ebook and meditation bundle in the description. Okay, so we are in our non-ordinary realities, okay? And so we're journeying here, usually for more information, more clarity about the world, more clarity about ourselves, healing, okay? And to retrieve parts of ourselves that we've lost in various places, to retrieve soul fragments, to retrieve energy, to retrieve parts of our power, to get gift enhancements, to resolve past parallel lives, things like that. And so these are all things that you would do in these worlds. Now, what is in each of these worlds? Okay, so the lower world, that's generally Earth. It's like realms of Earth. It's healing realms of Earth. And you get there by journeying down in through the Earth. And there's a lot of different places that you can go in the lower world. You generally are going there with a power animal or an animal guide, or you're going there to meet one. And the types of spirits that are here, I like to think of them as more earthy type spirits, like plants, animals, rocks, crystals, trees, lower world shamans, which are like hunter-gatherer type shamans. There's generally not any human civilization or like kind of human evidences here. It's like totally an earth healing realm. Okay, that's the lower world. And you journey down here to meet your power animal. You can journey down here to go receive healing from your animal and receive healing from these elements of the lower world. There's also certain elemental spirits are connected with the lower world, certain benevolent elemental spirits. Not all elemental spirits are benevolent, but benevolent element type spirits, the elements, different types of fairies, different types of gnomes, but again, they're not all benevolent. So these non-ordinary realities, the lower and the upper world is all benevolent healing, totally safe. Lower and upper world, totally safe, benevolent healing spirits, okay? So if you journey to the lower world, you're meeting like earthy, they're more earthy type energies, okay? Middle world, where I'm not recommending beginners are journeying here by themselves, or without like sufficient protection or without sufficient experience. It can be quite dangerous to journey in the middle world. And that is actually absolutely true, because you can encounter all sorts of entities. You can encounter dark spirits. You can encounter demons. You can encounter trickster spirits. You can encounter all sorts of energies. You can go there if your spirit's guides are teaching you, like guiding you there, if you have experience, if you're good at like protecting, making sure that you're well protected and you're well cleared. But I wouldn't recommend this as a beginner place to journey to, unless you have somebody that you're being guided with, or you are more experienced just in general. I don't want to say that it's like you're going to die if you go there. It's just like, it gets a little dicey because there's just more sketchy stuff happening in the middle world, and you just need a lot more discernment if you're journeying in there. Now, some shamanic healers don't really like to journey in the middle world because it can be quite heavy, especially if you're journeying in the middle world. Like, it just can be like so many human problems, and it just can be like really heavy and sticky to journey through. I have gone through periods where my spirit guides don't want me to journey through the middle world because it can, right now especially, the energy in the middle world is so heavy and sticky that can be incredibly difficult to journey through there, and very sticky and heavy to see through it, and just like really challenging to work with. So there's been periods over the last couple of years where my spirit guides have just totally we haven't even done middle world journeys, and have just done lower and upper world journey work, especially when the energy in the middle world is very heavy and sticky, which it is right now. Okay, so middle world is like earthbound spirits, demons, trickster spirits, what else? Heavy energies, human attachments, all sorts of thought forms and different types of energies, and like weird stuff that's implanted in the collective, and like things that you see in Stranger Things. That's all real, and that's in the middle world. And that's why you have to be like super careful if you're starting out with shamanic work and you're like, I'm going to go on a journey, that you're like kind of like, okay, I'm going to go on a journey to lower world, upper world, so that I'm going to stay safe. All right. Middle world is like most parallel to our physical realm. All right. Next, upper world. Upper world is exactly how it sounds. It's higher vibrational light beings, okay? And sometimes when you're like tuning in and you're kind of getting into the journey space and you're seeing what types of guides are here for you, lower world guides feel earthier. They are earthier. They're like just feel closer to earth. They just have a lower, I don't say they have a lower vibration. That sounds bad. They don't really, but they feel like earthy, okay? That's like earthy type energy. And upper world spirits are like just feel buzzy. They feel lighter. They feel higher up. You'll usually see them higher up. They have a lighter just energy. They are usually will appear, not usually, but sometimes they'll appear as like just straight orbs of light. These are your angels. These are your archangels. These are your spirit guides. These are sometimes your loved ones who are crossed over. If they're crossed over, they're mostly upper world. These are ancestors, is usually upper world. Sometimes ancestors can be lower worldy, or that ancestors and loved ones can come to the middle world. But they're like more of an upper world energy. And this isn't, like the spirits aren't locked in here, right? Like they don't have to stay in one spot. It's not like each of these categories, they're like trapped and they can never go. Like middle world spirits, absolutely. If there's an earthbound spirit, like they cannot go to the upper world or lower world. They just can't. But lower world and upper world spirits have more fluidity into where they can show up. So like upper world type spirit beings can kind of come into the middle world, right? So like your ancestors, your loved ones, they can come down into the middle world. Now, before I said that some benevolent fairy and elemental type spirits like to hang in the lower world, and some do, but some are also like to be more upper worldy. There's upper worldy type fairies and spirits like that. Same thing with dragons. Some people have asked me about dragons. I've seen lower world dragons and I've seen upper world dragons. It really just depends on like, I don't know, the species or the type of spirit that they are. So generally upper world is like lighter, just lighter energy, lighter color, lighter, like just light. That's the best way I could describe it. Now, what do these places look like? So the upper world looks like, and from what I understand like Greco-Roman structures were like built after what people viewed the upper world and like heaven to look like, and that's pretty much what it looks like. So the upper world is like very spacious. It usually has like a pinky, purpley, light blue energy. There's no plants or animals or things like that unless they're upper world beings. It's very open. There's some structures, but they're like very Greco-Roman type structures, very temple-y. There's temples in the lower world too, but there's like, it's open and it's flowing. Sometimes there is nature elements there, but it's like not natural. It's like you'll see waterfalls, but they'll be like crystal waterfalls, or like waterfalls of like crazy colors of like pinks and blues. It's like very cotton candy type energy, very floaty, very light, very open and spacious is the upper world. Lower world is definitely like fully, you're down in the lower world, you're in a jungle, you're in a meadow, you're in the forest, you're in an ocean, you're in some other type of realm, like a fish realm or a dragon realm. There's other realms that's parallel to the lower world that we're not going to talk about today because that's more advanced. There's same thing, there's different realms connected to the upper world that we're not going to talk about today. But there's temples, healing temples in these places also, ascended masters in the upper world. So that's pretty much it. And so if you're going to the upper world, it's like ancestors, ascended masters, angels, that sort of thing. And lower world is like animals, power animals, earthy things. All right. And in future, we're going to do some journeys, practice journeys to get there. So, and I can guide you through the steps of like, how do you get to the upper world? What do you do there? And then you can do your own journey, your own practice journey. And, but that won't be today. Now for Shamanic Journey, and it does take practice. Like I will tell you firsthand that when I first started doing this, I couldn't see anything. Like I couldn't visualize a single thing. I didn't know, I couldn't even imagine what a fairy looked like. Like my third eye was so closed. And I actually have a meditation for that also. So if you have like a major third eye blockage, I channeled a couple years ago a third eye healing meditation that I used as part of my own like process of healing my own third eye so that I could visualize more. And I'll link that down below also. So I'll link down below the Shamanic Journey meditation guided journey situation guidebook, ebook meditations down below, and the third eye healing meditation down below also, in case you're interested in those things. What else? This is not all there is. So the way that my spirit guides have always said it to me is like when we're learning stuff as humans, we like our brain likes categories, and it helps us to be able to like give something a label or place something into a box and say like this goes here and this goes here and this goes here. The shamanic reality is not like that. Like there's a lot of things that you will experience in your shamanic journey, and if you continue to do this, that doesn't have language, because language is a physical reality construct, okay? And so when we're journeying through non-physical realities, the non-ordinary reality, we are encountering things that are beyond the physical world, and language is a physical world construct. And so we will encounter things that are difficult to describe, that do not have language to match them, okay? And so we can say that there's a lower world, a middle world, and the upper world, but in reality, there's infinite types of places and infinite places that we can go. When you're starting out, like, I recommend that you kind of keep it simple, but like once you get more advanced, like your spirit guides may take you to like down in the lower world and then a right turn and then somewhere else, okay? And that exists too, and that's not wrong. It's just once we start to open up and expand our mind and relax our constructs and ideas of what's possible, then our spirit guides are able to show us more things. Okay, and that's kind of just how it works, is like the hardest part of shamanic journeying is being able to move beyond what your brain tells you is possible, what your logical, physical mind tells you is possible and tells you that it can exist with factual data. And this was, again, the hardest part for me, because for those of you guys who know my story, I basically was getting my PhD in like experimental neurobiology when I left this path. So one of the hardest things for me was I am a published researcher. Like you can look up my name on PubMed and I have published journal articles. And so I I needed physical evidence, basically. And like, it needed to be able to be seen, documented, explained with physical things. And some shamanic stuff can be, but most of it can't. And that's going to be the hardest part for most people, especially if you're coming from more of that analytical type background, which strangely a lot of shamanic healers do. The hardest part is basically like, okay, just because my brain doesn't know about this doesn't make it not real. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because my science hasn't told me about this existing, that doesn't invalidate my experience. And in the shamanic world, in the shamanic realities, you're going to experience a lot that you didn't know about. And especially once you start opening your third eye and opening yourself up to these realms more and more, it's not just the shamanic realities that spirits will open you up to. You will see a lot of different things about this physical world that you didn't see before. Basically, once you start to see different realities in spiritual realms, you can see different realities in physical realms and different timelines and different points of view. So, which can be incredibly difficult to have what you thought was real not be real. And that can be a painful part of the shamanic process. So this video is getting pretty long. But I hope you enjoyed that teaching of going over the ordinary, non-ordinary, upper, middle, and lower world. And I'll be back whenever I feel called with another video. And I'll put below the links to the Shamanic Journey thingy and the third eye healing guided channel thingy from Spirit. Okay? All right. Bye, guys.